The heat from the grill blasted across the backyard, mixing with the laughter, the pop of soda cans, and that loud country playlist Uncle Derek loved way too much. I'd barely stepped outside with a bowl of salad when I felt it, the shift, the hush, the sideways glances. Family barbecues always felt like a performance, but today it felt like they were waiting for my cue to mess up. My sister Haley was standing near the picnic table with her boyfriend, Brandon, who looked like he was auditioning for most smug guy at a cookout. Fresh haircut, expensive watch, that lazy smirk he wore like it was part of his personality. The kind of guy who talked big about leadership but spent half his office hours flirting with interns. And by office, I meant my office. But nobody here knew that. "Hey, Maddie," my uncle shouted with a grin stretched wide. "Look who finally decided to stop hiding in the kitchen." A few cousins snickered. Haley glanced at me like I'd shown up, wearing pajamas. Brandon didn't look at me at all. He looked past me, the way you look past a server at a restaurant.
Typical.
I set the bowl down on the table and forced a polite smile. "Just trying to help, Uncle D. Didn't want you burning the house down." "Burning the house down?" He laughed like I'd told the funniest joke. "Honey, the only thing burning today is your free time. You still figuring things out? Still between jobs?" There it was. The hit. Not even subtle. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my expression cool. Haley stepped closer, looping her arm through Brandon's. "Don't tease her," she said sweetly. "She's still working on her little project. Startups take time. It's not stable yet." Little project. I owned a company. A successful one. With payroll. With investors. With clients who knew my value even if my family didn't. But Haley loved that narrative. Her the accomplished sister. Me the wandering artist who never grew up. She'd spent years painting that picture, and my family swallowed it whole. Brandon finally spoke. "Hey, not everyone's built for the 9-to-5 grind," he said with a shrug. "Nothing wrong with taking your time. Some people just need direction." He said it like he wasn't the one who'd needed 3 reminders last month to turn in a simple report. I almost laughed. Uncle Derek slapped Brandon on the shoulder. "At least Haley found a man with a real job. Stability. That's what matters." "He's a marketing manager," Haley added proudly. "He's doing so well." If irony were loud, everyone would have had to cover their ears. Because I was the one who hired him. My breath steadied. I'd kept that information to myself for months. I didn't want drama, and I definitely didn't want my sister thinking I was trying to compete with her perfect relationship. But then Brandon started acting like his job was charity work, like he was doing me a favor. He showed up late, submitted sloppy work, and talked over me in meetings until I shut it down. Haley didn't know any of this. She just knew he wore a nice shirt and talked confidently. And then he made that "I could teach you how corporate works" joke last week. Something in me snapped. I didn't waste time after that. I drafted his termination letter. HR printed it. It sat in an envelope in my bag at this very moment. I'd planned to give it to him privately. Quietly. Cleanly. But Derek pushed again. "She's still unemployed, right?" he said, looking between Haley and Brandon. "Still jobless." Brandon gave a small nod. Just enough to let everyone think it was true. Just enough to feed the story that he and Haley were the successful ones. Enough. The air around me sharpened. "That's not true," I said, stepping closer to the table. My voice was steady. Not defensive, not loud, just clear. "I do have a job." Haley rolled her eyes. "Maddie, please don't start. Not today." "I'm not starting anything," I said. "I'm correcting something." Brandon crossed his arms. "Look, it's fine. You don't have to prove anything. No one's judging." My lips curved slightly. "Oh, Brandon, you should really stop talking." His brow tightened. "Excuse me?" I reached into my bag, fingers brushing the edge of the white envelope with his name on it. My pulse kicked up, not from fear, just from the clean, icy thrill of truth. I pulled it out and placed it gently on the picnic table beside his plate. "Actually," I said, locking eyes with him, "he's not just some hardworking guy with a stable job." Everyone leaned in. Even the kids stopped running. "He works for me." Haley's head snapped toward him. "What?" "Brandon, is she joking?" The color started draining from his face. And the second clarification, I added softly. He was my employee. A murmur rippled through the family. I tapped the envelope. Open it. Brandon stared at it like it was radioactive. And the barbecue went silent. Brandon didn't move at first. He just stared at the envelope like it was some kind of prank. But the silence around him grew heavy, too heavy to ignore. Even Uncle Derek stopped chewing mid-bite, burger frozen halfway to his mouth. Go on, I said calmly. It has your name on it. Brandon finally reached for it, fingers trembling just enough for me to notice. Haley hovered beside him, eyes wide, waiting for him to laugh and say it was all a misunderstanding. He didn't. He slid a finger under the flap, pulled out the papers, and the moment his eyes hit the first line, his whole face collapsed. Shoulders stiffened. Adam's apple bobbed. The color drained from his cheeks until he looked like he'd stepped out of a freezer. What is this? He whispered. I kept my tone level almost gentle. Your termination letter. Haley's voice cracked. Termination? For what? I turned my gaze to her, my sister, who'd mocked my career for years while knowing nothing about it. For multiple reasons, I said. Chronic lateness. Ignored deadlines. Inappropriate comments during meetings. And the contract adjustment you tried sneaking past me last month. Brandon swallowed hard. That was a mistake. It was intentional, I corrected. And you know it. Gasps rose from the family. Even the kids paused their game of tag. Haley stepped forward, her dress swishing angrily. Maddie, you can't just fire him without talking to me. He's my boyfriend. I blinked slowly. Haley, he's my employee. Our relationship dynamic has nothing to do with yours. But you embarrassed him, she snapped. He embarrassed himself, I said simply. I'm just acknowledging it. Uncle Derek threw his hands up. Hold on. You're telling me this guy, he pointed at Brandon, worked for you this whole time? You run a company. I turned to him, offering a thin smile. Yes, Uncle D. I run a tech marketing firm. 46 employees. You know, a real job. His mouth opened and closed like a confused goldfish. Why didn't you ever say anything? I did. I shrugged. Nobody listened. The truth hit him like a slap, but he stayed quiet for once, sinking into his folding chair. Brandon's voice grew hoarse. Maddie, please can we talk privately? Sure, I said. But the termination stands. He looked like he wanted to argue, but Haley interrupted, practically shaking with anger. So that's it? You're firing him at a barbecue? In front of everyone? You're unbelievable. I exhaled slowly. Haley, I wasn't going to do this here. I planned to handle it professionally on Monday. But when you two kept letting my family believe I was jobless, when you let them mock me, laugh at me, look down on me, I let the words hang. I realized this wasn't my embarrassment. It was yours. Brandon rubbed his forehead, defeated. Maddie, please, No, I said. Brandon, you don't get to disrespect your boss behind her back. And you definitely don't get to disrespect me in my own family. Haley's jaw tightened. You're jealous, she snapped. That made me laugh, quietly but with real amusement. Jealous? Of what? A man who lost his job because he underestimated the wrong woman. Haley went pale. The tension around the yard began to shift, the judgmental looks turning into something else. Curiosity, respect, even a bit of guilt. Brandon finally folded the letter, hands shaking. I'll gather my things Monday. You won't need to, I replied. HR already boxed them. He flinched. Then I turned away, grabbed a soda from the cooler, and cracked it open like I hadn't just detonated the calmest bomb in barbecue history. The silence stretched for several more seconds before the whispers started. And for the first time in years, none of them were about my failures. I took a slow sip of my soda, letting the carbonation settle the adrenaline humming in my veins. The backyard was still frozen, like everyone was waiting for someone else to speak first. It ended up being my mother. She came over, her expression a mix of shock, confusion, and something softer. Maddie, she whispered, why didn't you tell us your company had grown this much? I shrugged lightly. Every time I tried, someone talked over me, or changed the subject to Haley's promotions, or asked if I'd considered getting a real job. After a while, it didn't seem worth explaining. Her face fell, and guilt tugged at her features. Sweetheart, we didn't mean… I know, I said gently, but it still happened. Before she could respond, Uncle Derek stormed toward me, holding his hat against his chest like he was preparing for a confession. So you're saying you're a CEO? He asked, squinting as if he needed the truth to come with subtitles. Founder and CEO, I corrected calmly. But yes. He scratched his chin. And this guy, he pointed at Brandon, who was still staring at the letter like it might rewrite itself, has been working for you the whole damn time? Yes. He blinked. Twice. Then he let out a long whistle. Well, I'll be. It wasn't an apology, but it was as close as Derek got. Haley wasn't done, though. She stepped forward, arms crossed tightly, voice sharp. You humiliated my boyfriend, she snapped. You could have talked to us first. You humiliated me first, I replied, keeping my tone even. For years. Every family gathering was a chance to, accidentally, insult my career. That's not true, she fired back. It is, I said. And today you both doubled down. Haley's stare hardened. You're overreacting. Maybe, I said softly. But I'm also done being everyone's punching bag. Brandon finally looked up, voice thin. Maddie, please. I know I messed up. But can't we handle this privately? I listened to the tremor in his voice. I believed he was sorry, but not for what he did. For getting caught. Brandon, I said, this isn't personal. It's professional accountability. He opened his mouth, but Haley grabbed his arm. We're leaving, she declared. This is ridiculous. The two of them stormed toward the driveway, Brandon still clutching the envelope. My family watched them go, speechless. Once they disappeared around the corner, the air shifted again, lighter this time, like everyone suddenly remembered they were at a barbecue and not the season finale of a reality show. My cousin Leo approached, hands shoved in his pockets. So, you're really a CEO? Yes, I said, smiling faintly. That's actually really cool. He paused. Sorry for the jokes before. I didn't know. Thanks, I said. I appreciate that. Soon, little clusters of family members began coming up to me, some apologetic, some curious, some suddenly extremely interested in my business. I answered what I felt like answering and brushed off what I didn't. For once, nobody talked over me. Then Uncle Derek approached again, rubbing the back of his neck. Kid, he said, I maybe been out of line. My eyebrows lifted. Coming from him, this was monumental. He cleared his throat. I shouldn't have assumed stuff. You worked hard. I can see that now. Thank you, I said simply. My mother wrapped an arm around my shoulders. I'm proud of you, Maddie. Truly. Warmth spread through me. After years of being underestimated, the shift felt surreal, like stepping from a dim hallway into open sunlight. With the tension fading, the grill sizzled again, kids resumed running, and music filled the spaces where judgment used to sit. But the story wasn't done yet, because the envelope wasn't just a firing. It was also the beginning of something else, something they were all about to learn. As the atmosphere slowly brightened again, I walked over to the cooler, grabbed another soda, and leaned back against the patio railing. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not for my setbacks, not for some family-constructed version of me, but for the truth. My mom hovered by my side, pretending to rearrange napkins on the table. So, she whispered, is it really 46 employees? 48 now, I corrected. We hired 2 new developers last week. Her eyes widened. Honey, why didn't you ask us to celebrate that? I laughed softly, because if I told everyone, they'd ask a million questions and compare me to Haley anyway. She winced, knowing I wasn't wrong. Before she could respond, my cousin Lauren walked up with a plate of ribs, her expression bright. Maddie, I'm gonna say it. What you did today. Iconic. I snorted. It wasn't meant to be. No, she insisted.
It was honest.
And overdue. More cousins gathered around, nodding, asking small questions, genuinely curious. The tone had shifted entirely. Less judgment, more respect. But the real shift came a few minutes later when Brandon returned. Not with Haley. Not with anger. But alone. Shoulders slumped. Envelope in hand. The entire backyard tensed. He walked straight toward me, stopping a few feet away. "Can I talk to you?" he asked quietly. I set my soda aside.
Sure.
My family subtly drifted back, pretending not to eavesdrop. Brandon swallowed hard. I deserved the termination. All of it. I got too comfortable. I didn't take the job seriously. I won't make excuses. That surprised me. I expected defensiveness, not honesty. He continued, voice low. And I shouldn't have let your family believe you were unemployed. That wasn't fair. I went along with it because Haley liked the attention. She liked looking like the successful one. I got caught up in it. I nodded slowly, acknowledging that is more than most people would do. He let out a shaky breath. I'm sorry, Maddie. Truly. You deserved more respect than I ever gave you. I believed him. That didn't change the outcome, but it mattered.
Thank you, I said.
I accept your apology. And for what it's worth, I hope you get a job where you can actually grow. He nodded. I'll try. He turned to leave, but before he reached the gate, Haley came storming back, heels stabbing the grass like she was attacking the ground itself. Maddie, she shrieked. You embarrass me. How could you do that to my boyfriend? Ex-employee, I corrected calmly. He told me everything, she snapped. You could have kept this private. I planned to, I reminded her. Until you joined in on mocking me. Again. She froze, lips parted, unable to fire back. I continued, voice firm but not cruel. Haley, I never cared about titles. I never cared about winning. I just wanted to be treated like an equal, like family. But you made everything a competition. That's not. It is, I said softly. And I'm not playing anymore. For once, she didn't have a comeback. Her face crumpled, not from embarrassment, but from realization. She turned away, storming back toward the driveway, dragging Brandon with her. I watched them go, exhaling long and slow. My mom stepped beside me again. You handled that with grace, she whispered. I handled it with truth. I corrected. That's all. The rest of the barbecue unfolded peacefully, laughing, games, conversations that didn't poke at old wounds. When the sun dipped and the light strung across the yard glowed warm and soft, I finally felt comfortable.
Seen.
Respected.
Free.
As we packed up leftovers, Uncle Derek lifted his drink toward me. Maddie, he said gruffly, next month, you're helping me fix my business website. I want it to look fancy like yours. I laughed.
Deal.
Driving home later, windows down, warm summer air brushing my hair, I realized something important. Revenge didn't have to be cruel. Sometimes it was just clarity. Sometimes it was letting people see what they never bothered to ask. And the happy ending? That was mine to build, finally without anyone standing in my way.